Welcome, 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 everyone. I can see I am live on Facebook. Want to make sure that my internet is working. Everything is good. Give me a second, everybody. Welcome, 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 everybody on Instagram. I'm so glad to see you. Okay, excellent, excellent, and again, excellent. Great, I'm here. I am live on Facebook. I'm glad to see everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm sorry I got late. I didn't realize that. I got held up at the basics course. We were finishing up, and even though I gave an extra time, still ended up being late. My apologies, but I am here. We're going to do the open session. We're going to discuss something absolutely mesmerizing, absolutely amazing. We're going to talk about the metaphors, the metaphoric interpretations of the tree, right? This is going to be a preliminary. I'm going to give you a sneak peek into the specialist course. This is a preliminary session in lieu of the Monday open live drawing session where we actually get to draw the neuro tree, okay? But today I wanted to discuss what is so amazing about the neuro tree, what is so symbolic, what is so significant about the tree, that the neuro tree is actually one of the major algorithms within the specialist course, and it's absolutely amazing, and it's it's one of my favorite algorithms, so I'm so excited to present it to you today, giving you a sneak peek into the this part. It usually has never been revealed before. Even in Russian language, they don't have so many sessions that express this, that explain the metaphoric interpretations of the tree, the way we learn it in the specialist course. I'm so glad to bring it to you, okay? We're gonna start. I'm gonna share, okay, those of you on Facebook, you are lucking out because you get to see my presentation, and it's truly amazing presentation. So those of you on Instagram, welcome to go to Facebook. Unless you're comfortable, I'm going to explain everything anyway. You just won't be able to see what I'm showing, but it's okay because you still will see my explanation. You will hear my explanation, everything else, okay? Plus, you will get to see everything. If you want to watch me on the YouTube, the recording will be available in a few hours, okay? On my YouTube channel, lanashalom.com. Welcome, 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 everybody again. Those of you who are just joining me, we're here today to talk about the metaphoric interpretation of the tree, okay? And as you can see on my presentation, this is a sneak peek into a specialist course, so hooray, hooray. I'm inviting you to take it, to try, have a taste of the specialist course. And those of you who are interested, welcome to PM me and sign up, okay? Let's talk about the tree, okay? The very first thing I want you guys to do, if you have the ability, if you don't, that's okay, it's not a mandatory. But if you can, take a piece of the paper and just draw a tree, okay? It's very important, just a minute, nothing long, just a quick sketch of the tree. Okay, if you were to draw a tree, how would you draw it? Okay, those of you who don't have a paper, just think about it. How would you draw a tree? What does it look like? Okay, and just to give a few seconds, just quick sketching. Okay, and I'm going to explain why I'm telling you. Now, pay attention. It's very important the way you draw the sketch, because as I will explain the metaphoric parts of the tree, the explanation, the interpretation of which different parts of the tree represent, you will be able to relate to why you drew something a certain way or why you didn't draw a certain part, okay, of the structure of the tree. Let's start. There are four major types of the way of the drawings that people make, okay? The very first type is when the tree is drawn as we see from the top of the earth, okay? Meaning people will see the branches and people will see the trunk. Those of you who have been reading my posts, right, notice how I mentioned how I focused on the trunk, on the branches. That was yesterday. The day before yesterday, I focused on the roots, okay? Most of the time, the way people draw the picture of the tree will be as the way it's seen on a physical level on a horizontal plane, okay? We see the trunk, we see the branches, people will draw maybe fruits, right? People will draw maybe flowers. Most of the time, people do not illustrate in their pictures the bottom part, the roots. People do not show what beneath what we can see. Can we see the roots? We don't usually see the roots. So when people draw the tree, they draw it exactly the way they see in a realistic way, right? When I'm looking outside of my window, I see the trunk and I see the branches. I do not in any way see the roots, so I do not represent it. It is important to understand that Neurographica is beyond the fact that it's, it's just a healing art modality. It's an art coaching. Neurographica is a metaphorical type of drawing. Those of you who ever attended the Pyramid of Consciousness with me, you know what I'm talking about. We're looking not just at what the consciousness and not just a part of analytical coaching. It's what we don't see. It's a part of our unconscious. When we draw the tree in Neurographica, we specify that we want to see the roots. Where are the roots, right? In Neurographica, when we draw, we always draw the neuro tree from the bottom up. We always start the tree by drawing the roots first, then we go to the trunk, and then we go to the branches, okay? Why? Because roots are the metaphorical symbols of one's past, ancestry, inner self, one's background, one's memory. Roots is a symbolic representation of the past, okay? It's very important to pay attention to the way we draw the roots, okay? Do we have enough roots that will balance the branches on top? Do we have enough roots that will keep the trunk steady? Okay, very important to pay attention to that. Sometimes we see what we saw here, that the roots are bigger than the branches. And that's okay, because the roots are the past, and we know that the past is bigger than we can imagine the future. Of course, we can imagine the future as something amazing, but the past is always something tangible, right? We already know that we have so many generations of people, right? We have ancestors. We refer to the humankind in general, right? Anthropologically speaking, right? This is year 2000. And we know that beyond it, right? If you go before the Common Era, there were a lot of, according to some people, some historians, right? Millions of years, right? According to the biblical account, 6,000 years. But going beyond it, right? Even not keeping in mind the numbers, but if you think about the scale of the ancestors, right? Referring to your culture, referring to your background, referring to your personal family, referring to your nationality, right? To your nation, the nation you belong to, whatever religion you belong to, the country you live in. If you start to think about the scale of that past, you realize that the roots, the way, at least in our mind, are always bigger or longer or stronger than what we see in the branches, okay? The way we see the picture now in the presentation for those on Instagram, just to explain, the root, we have a humongous amount of roots, then the trunk, and the branches are like nice amount of branches, but it's not as much as the roots, okay? So if we look from the roots point of view, then this is what we see, that the roots are bigger and stronger than we can imagine the future, okay? Sometimes people imagine the trees this way, okay? In the picture now, we see the trees with a lot of branches, but very few roots, okay? And that's okay too, people, this is when people do not fully understand the scale of the roots, the importance of ancestry. Again, what I'm offering you, by the way, just metaphorical interpretation. In no way am I interpreting your or your client's work, okay? That's a very individual work. And in general, in Neurographica, just FYI, everybody, we never interpret anybody's drawing. Everybody's drawing is their own reflection. In no way am I ever to interpret anybody's work. Okay, just for you guys to understand, this is a general metaphorical interpretation of the tree. Okay, something for you guys to be aware, to keep in mind. Okay, so sometimes when people are not as much connected to their ancestors, are not aware of the power of the ancestors, those of you who ever did the Hellinger's work, constellations, family systems work, you guys understand what I'm talking about. The scale of the roots, usually you feel like this. But a lot of times people are not as much aware or is not connected to their family. Then they will draw the roots less than the branches. And it's, again, something to pay attention. Maybe when you work with a client that draws a tree, for those of you who are specialists already, right, or learning to become a specialist, that's part of your case studies work. You can just kind of connect the client and ask questions that will bring their awareness. Can you tell me, if you explain to them that the roots connect to their family, connection to their past, ancestry, then maybe they will draw more and connect more. Okay. The picture that we see on the right side, like these two pictures are a great way of doing. You see the right side, do you see, guys, the roots are the direct reflection of the branches, right? The same amount, right? Over here, the roots are more, and again, this is more realistic. We should be seeing the roots as being more than the branches because they're more substantial and they are the ones that give us the most support. Okay, we should have more support than the future that we see ahead. Okay, because we can always grow the future ahead. We can always grow the branches on top, but we need to have roots that are more stable and supportive. Okay, and yes, that's the best part about NeuroGraphica. You can constantly, and if you see any of my open sessions I did on NeuroTree, you can constantly add the the roots on the bottom and the branches on top. As you grow them, you constantly balance them. Okay, let's go further. Another type of a tree that people draw is called the whipping willow. Okay, structurally speaking, this is what the tree looks like. For those of you on Instagram, it's a tree that has a trunk. You may even have the roots. But the point is that the top of the tree will be totally bent. Okay, so the tree will look like this. You see how my hand is? Not like this, right, with the branches out, but rather like this. Okay, they may have a lot of branches, but the trunk cannot support the amount of branches. The trunk cannot support the fruits, the heavy fruits that the branches are carrying, and the trunk just bends over. Okay, the trunk is not able to carry on the weight of the fruits, the weight of the leaves, the weight of the branches. Okay, and we see people like that in life, right? There are people who carry, when you meet them, they're the ones who start telling you about the problems they experience in life, about the heaviness they feel, everything they do, everything they start telling you, oh, it's so much problems and there's so many issues, right? And they are looking, okay, talking in a coaching word, okay? They are looking for resources to help them stay upright. Remember the trees we saw where the branches are looking up? Basically, in general, for you guys to understand, the goal of the tree is to grow strong and tall, okay? The goal of this tree is to reach the sun. Okay, because trees are looking what? How do they start? They start as a seed in the dark, most of the time cold soil, right? And their goal is to break through the soil and start going further up and up. Why? To reach the sun. Why they need the sun? We all know about photosynthesis, because the sun is what allows the tree to get the nutrients necessary for the tree to grow strong. And that's a great metaphor to the human being. We all start as a seed in the uterus, right? And we grow for 9 months in there and we can be seen, right? Even with all the sonograms and everything else, right? I remember with all my kids, I can never understand what the sonograms show. I can never understand where the hand is and the feet are, no matter how much the sonogram person tried to explain it to me, did not work with me, right? And that's the beauty of it. And that's the mystery of the creation of life. You can never fully see the way the creation of the human being is. Just like you don't see what's happening underneath the soil with the seed, but the seed starts growing roots, right? The seed starts bringing out roots, and that's what we draw. That's why we start with the root. The roots is the beginning of the tree, right? And then the seed breaks through the soil, start growing further and taller, okay? And the goal of any tree is to grow high and to touch the sun. Okay, one of my favorite stories, I just had an idea, I'm going to read it out loud and put it on the video. I don't know if they have it on YouTube. The story of the apple tree, how the apple tree was growing up the tree and looked up and kept saying how the little, actually, the apple that was growing kept asking the tree, the mother, who am I going to be when I grow up? And the mother said, you will be an apple and then you will turn into an apple tree. The apple kept looking at the sky and seeing the stars and says, I want to be a star, just like the stars in the sky. Beautiful story. I'm going to make a separate video about it. I promise you it's worth it. But this is what it is, right? Any tree that grows up wants to reach the sky. And that's the metaphor of a human being. Human beings are growth people, right? Growing beings, right? We grow taller, right? The whole idea of a childhood is what? Not just mental growth and emotional, of course, but the physical growth, right? The human being is a growing being up until the age of what? 19, 12, no, not 12, I would say 19, 20, right? We grow physically. After that, after the age of 18, right? Most of the time, symbolically, it's 18, but it's maybe 19, 20, right? Those of you who have teenagers, you know how they sprout all of a sudden. And the idea is that afterwards, we still continue growing. We grow internally, right? We grow mentally, we grow emotionally, we grow spiritually, right? And the idea is to combine all four of those entities and bring us together, to combine and make a fulfilled, full human being, right? And this is the idea of the tree. The tree is trying to grow, and the metaphor is to the human being, okay? So if you see a client drawing like this kind of a willow, whipping willow, I had a client who would draw a tree like that, and we would work on adding resources, talking about what could make the branches stay up, what could make the trunk, you know, the branches and the trunk, to give resources to the branches to stay up. How do we deal, what do we do with the heavy fruits, you know, how do we balance it out, okay? Everything is great and balanced. Look over here, right? Same thing. Beautiful, beautiful roots over here, right? Yeah, the branches and the trunk is like falling over, right? Right. Branches are growing down, so you don't have something bent back, bent down, right? Yeah, and this is what I explained to you. Branches are supposed to grow up, drawn to light, the sun. Growing is a process of going upwards, okay? Again, the metaphor of a tree is the metaphor of a human growth, of a human development, okay? Leaves, okay? What are leaves symbolized? Leaves are a metaphor, a connection to the social environment and the surrounding, okay? Very interesting to notice, right? The trees, like what we have now in the winter, like I'm in Florida, live in Florida, and most of the trees did lose their leaves. I do see a lot of trees that still have their leaves, but still, you know, it's not as vibrant, it's not as developed, it's not as flowery as the trees that do have leaves, that do have flowers. And you know, whenever you look at the tree and you see it with leaves, it gives you hope. It gives you, you know, it gives you this connection to the fact that something is developing, something is growing, that the fruits are about to come up, right? We know that leaves are just the way to the fruits, right? Interesting. Look at these beautiful trees I found with the, right? So leaves is what connects us. And leaves is also like a connection to the next step, the connection to the fruits, right? Because before, in the springtime, we have the leaves, but the fruits haven't yet come yet, right? The fruits usually grow and develop fully in the summer. So leaves is our connection. Leaves is also connection to the spring, to the rebirthing, regeneration, right? Whenever the leaves come up, we start saying, the winter is over. We're looking forward to the rebirth. We're looking forward to the way the nature wakes up. And the same thing happened in human life, right? When we start something new, it's leaves. It's the beginning. It's this excitement about starting something new, excitement about, creating a new project. Okay. Flowers. Flowers are a great metaphor. Flowers relate us and bring us to the beauty and the aesthetic, right? The aesthetic prettiness. Look at the flowers. Look how beautiful they are, right? We know a lot of trees like the cherry, right? The beautiful sakura, right? A lot of botanical gardens, right? The most flow of audience people come in the spring when the sakura is flowering, right? Look how beautiful the sakura is blossoming, right? Look at the beautiful, the tree immediately looks so beautiful. We start paying attention to the tree. We start being mesmerized by the tree whenever we see the sakura, the flower. It doesn't have to be just sakura, but any flower buds. I personally love, I used to have a cherry tree in my backyard when I was growing up. To me, that was a mesmerizing moment to watch the cherry tree in the spring when it starts blossoming. The beautiful, beautiful flowers. And again, flowers are a connection, a relevance to the beauty that we get attracted to, right? We all know that when people dress beautifully, when people look beautifully, it brings attention, takes our attention, right? We start paying attention to that more, right? Why? Because it gives us harmony, right? Our soul feels good, our heart feels good. We feel more kind of, attracted because it brings us the idea of aesthetics, of general beauty of the world, okay? Yeah, beauties are beautiful, right? We have different types of flowering trees, pink, white, red, purple flowers, an array of colors, right? Haven't seen any blue colors on the tree. That's, again, a very interesting idea to connect to. The colors, the connection, most of the colors of the flowers on the tree, specifically on the tree we're talking about, not the flowers that grow from earth, they can grow any color, but most of the tree colors, guys, are the earthy colors, right? Red, pink, purple, right? Which is like this combination of brown and red, right? And white, the symbol of purity, the symbol of new beginning. Very beautiful. Yeah, just added more stuff. So the main idea, remember how we discussed it, and I put it in my post also, how the bottom is, 1 second, let me just, just restarting my Facebook. I showed me the connection was unstable. Just want to make sure I can see you guys. Okay. So that's very interesting to start paying attention to the fruits, the goal, okay? Remember how we talked about 3 parts. The bottom part, the roots, have a relevance to the past. The branch is the relevance to the present, okay? And the future, the branches are the relevance to the future. We discussed the leaves, right? How it's the beginning, it's starting something new within your life. We discussed the fruits, right? How we need beauty in life. We need to feel attractive. We need to feel attracted, right? We love seeing something beautiful, beautiful drawing, a beautiful flower. Anything that's beautiful attracts our attention. And that's the idea of the flowers. And the main part of the branches, as we see it in the Neurographica method, as we draw the neuro tree, are the fruits. The fruits are the realization, the goals that we're trying to achieve. It's the realization of our goals, and it's also receiving or filling ourselves up with necessary resources to work on our goal, to reach our goal, okay? The fruits, look at the fruits. When we see the fruits, what do we feel? We feel, first of all, if you talk about the seasons, we feel like the summer, right? The summer is when the trees, the fruits grow, and we feel comfortable, we feel comforted, right? The trees is related to the nutrients, right? The way we're nourished, the way we feel, we take care of our physical body, right? We feed it. And this way the body has energy to continue growing, right? Whether it's physical growth or, again, whether it's internal growth, okay? Very interesting. Pay attention to the fruits, beautiful fruits. Look, the amount of fruits also makes us happy, right? Some trees, I want to bring you some mysticism and secrets. Some trees will have a hallow in their trunk, okay? And sometimes people, when they're drawing neurotree, remember how neurotrees can consist, it comes up from drawing lots and lots of neurolines. And sometimes when people connect the neurolines together and they round it out, inadvertently, this happened so many times with my clients, the students, right? What all of a sudden they start realizing, they start realizing that there is an empty space that they have left as part of the tree trunk, right? And we discussed with them how the tree trunk is irrelevant. Now, okay, hopefully I'm going to be able to change it with my keyboard. The tree is a relevance. The hallow is a relevance to mysticism, to secrets, right? You know how many stories, right? They have associated children's stories, mostly like Narnia, right? When people go into a dark space, right? They go into a dresser and they come out in a different country, right? My children love to read the magic tree houses. When children go into the tree house, right? And again, it's coming out in a different country. Hallow is a representation, the necessity of a person, you know, who brought the hallow into their drawing. To have maybe some secret, to have some space, some personal space, right? Maybe some sacred space, maybe a way to escape from the reality, right? Remember all the children's stories where children go somewhere, right? And they come out in a different country or a different reality, different dimension. That's what happens. Children are trying to escape reality. Again, one of my favorite, the Narnia story, is about children. If you remember the Narnia story, if any of you read, the beginning of the story is children in England from London. They're being transported to the countryside of London, where they can avoid the harshness of the World War II. And children are alone in the big house, and children are, they're just have to play together. They don't have parents left back in London, right? They spend their time together. They're avoiding reality, the harsh reality where they cannot be around their parents, right? There's I think a governess of the castle, of the house, and she's not keen on taking care of children, right? She's taking care of the master. There's a person who lives there, right? And that's the interesting part. How do they avoid it? The youngest girl, Lucy, right? What does she do? She goes into a dresser while they're playing hide and seek. Pay attention to the game, hide and seek, right? Hiding. And she transports into a magical reality called Narnia, right? Amazing, amazing story. I personally love the Narnia story. And it brings us to this idea how some people, and it doesn't have to be children, we're talking about adults, they need a way to escape reality. They need a way to have their personal space. And that's what the hallow is. If you see a client having a hallow, you can discuss it without much pressure, right? If the client sees it's fine. If the client doesn't see it, it's fine too. The client is not ready to deal with that part of themselves. Maybe they're not ready to reveal that they need to have personal space. A lot of times it's people who don't have, let's say, personal space, who don't have an office, or who are, mothers who are very busy taking care of children. They have no space, they have no time to go and just relax on their own. Again, very general interpretation, nothing individual. And they look at the hallow and they bring the hallow in their drawing. And it's a great, it's their way of meeting the necessity of personal space, secrecy, hiding maybe somewhere, escaping the reality. And it's okay. Okay, it's very important not to ask the client or the students to draw over it. No, you keep it the way it is. You allow them to have that space. In my personal practice, when I draw for myself, I love drawing trees. For me, it's one of my favorite algorithms. I think of all the algorithms, this is the algorithm that I have the most amount of drawings on. What happens with me is that I personally never saw. I remember talking, and then one drawing. I don't know if it was a part of a specialist or something. I was drawing, and in the middle of the drawing, I realized I have a hallow. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting. I started paying attention. I started thinking, why? What is this relating to? And toward the end of the drawing, I felt the necessity, I felt the need that I want to add neural lines and close up that hollow. Okay, so that's very voluntarily, see how your client, how your student feels, and you go along with it. But the hollow, again, it's a way to have a childhood, to a way to connect to childhood, right? Connect to, again, personal space. Beautiful pictures of the hollows. Okay, what are other elements in the drawing of the neuro tree? We don't just draw the tree, but we also add the elements around it, surrounding the tree, such as a basket. What is the purpose of the basket? The purpose of the basket is to gather the fruits. Very important to note. We don't draw baskets that are empty, right? Because we want to make sure we bring in. Remember, the fruits are a symbol of resources, realization, goal realization, right? So when we bring in a basket or any other vessel, right? Last year I had an amazing course, and if any of you are as big lovers of neurotree as I am, or if you're a specialist, whether you're learning to become a specialist or graduated specialist, and you want to bring this to your clients, I have an amazing neurotree course. Okay, it's a series of 11 or 12 neurotrees that you can take. And again, if you're a specialist, since you're allowed to lead the master classes, lead the neurotree sessions, you just take the course, and I give the rights. If you're a specialist, you can get the rights to lead the course, and you take it and you lead it. Because once you draw a neurotree, it kind of gets boring unless you bring variations to it. In the course, I actually connected the neurotrees with different integrative practices. I did the meta modern, I did the pyramid of development, I did the chakras, I did the shadow work with the neurotrees. So many different, like I said, 11 types of neurotrees, I believe, the Kabbalistic neurotrees, a lot of things, okay? This financial prosperity and everything like that. So in my neurotree development, we didn't just add baskets. Baskets are the most widespread vessel or a way to collect the fruits. I would also do different vessels. We would do vases. Again, vase is a aesthetic beauty, right? So aesthetic way of collecting your resources, collecting the fruits. But if you want to look at the basket, look at this, right? 2 baskets, 3 baskets. Guys, you can draw as many baskets as you want. You can draw a few small baskets. You can draw one huge basket. I did all of them. Like I said, the neurotree course was like such a revelation to me, such a great way to bring out my love for the neurotree and share it with everybody else. Amazing course. Yeah, the neurotree, very interesting, right? Pay attention to other kind of, by the way, there are a few symbolic items in the picture that I'm not mentioning yet. I want to see if you guys notice it. But pay attention to it. I will talk about it toward the end, right? Over here, you see the apple presser, right? The way to take your fruit and transform it into something else, right? Like a juice maker, or again, like a cider maker in this case, right? Ladder, right? Or a few things over here, the ladder. Over here, is it? There was one picture and I didn't mention it, but I was wondering if anybody noticed, but the ladder over here, 2 ladders, right? In order to go up and collect the fruits, you need a ladder. Remember, a ladder is a temporary structure. You cannot just go up and stay on top of the ladder, right? You definitely need the ladder in order to go up and collect your trees. Again, very metaphorical to the way we often need to climb up to the top, need to climb up to our mental abilities, to our spiritual abilities, to collect imagination, collect fantasy, so we can look at it and say, oh, wow, how amazing is this, right? So we're able to connect to what is it that we want, right? A desire, right? There's a Kabbalistic term of ratzon. Ratzon is the ability to have this inner desire. You're not even sure yet what it is, but you know that there's something, there's this yearning for something. It could be for something specific. It could be something, general, and then you find out what it is exactly, right? So that's what it is, right? The ability to go up the ladder, the ability to to, ladder is also a biblical connection to, everybody's aware of the term Jacob's ladder, right? And that connects to the biblical story of how Jacob, when he was sleeping, he would see angels going up and down the ladder. And again, that's metaphor of growth. Okay, in order to grow, you need to be able to go up the ladder, to collect the fruits, to collect the realization, bring it down to earth, integrate it within earth, right? What you guys see here, integration, right? The cider presser, right? The cold apple presser to prepare cider, meaning transform it, make it something accessible for earthy, for something we can use on a physical level, right? And then if necessary, continue going up. And that's a metaphor of a growth. We're constantly going up and down the ladder to collect the fruits, right? And then we'll go down the ladder in order to, again, work and put the seeds in the soil and see the growth of the trees again. And again, it's a constant circle, right? Again, the beautiful metaphor of a circle, which maybe we'll discuss another time when we're going to, maybe we'll do a neuromandala drawing. But again, the apple or the ladder in this case, I'm sorry, is really, really a great way to go up and collect what you would like to bring down to the earth. And again, the ladder is a temporary structure. You cannot stay long on the ladder. You cannot sleep there, right? It's not like a tree house even, but it's a way for a person to go up, take what they want, take what they need, bring it down, and start realizing in real life, okay? Beautiful, okay. I want to tell you the story about swings, how I came about the symbolics of the swings. It was actually my first cohort of the specialist. One of my students, when she submitted the work for the case studies for the certification, and one of the beautiful drawings of the tree she drew, there was a picture of the tree and there was a hanging, you know how the kids have the tire that can be used as a swing. And she told me a beautiful story, how she connected to her childhood through this, how the swings just came in her drawing. She drew it without, much consciousness, like it was subconscious. And when she started doing the reflection process and connecting to it, she connected to the childhood, her own childhood, when she had a tire swing, and she was able to, it's a beautiful way. Swings is a metaphorical association, the connection of being able to fly, fantasy, and dreaming. Okay, who usually goes on swings? Children, right? I personally love, if there's a swing strong enough to carry me, I always go on the swing. I love swings. And it gives me this ability to fly, to connect, connect to my fantasy, connect to my imagination, right? If the fruits, right, you go up and it's the ladder, right? When we go up to collect the ladder, it's an adult way of going up, right? Very structured, right? Very safe, right? You collect the fruits and then you come down, right? And then you need to integrate, right? See who gets either sell the fruits or feed your family, right? It's a very adult way of collecting the resources. Swings are a childhood way of connecting ourselves to being able to be up, being able to go up closer to the heaven, closer to the sun, right? Again, there's connection to tree and the human, right? And when people start thinking about swings, there are adults, by the way, who are afraid of swings, right? They feel like it's something dangerous. They don't let their kids to go on the swing. So it's a connection to this ability to just let yourself go, flow, right? Or how able you are. If I tell you now, can you just 1, 2, 3, let's start fantasizing. Are you able to do it? Right? Can you just relax and start going into meditation or relaxation or fantasizing? Or it's something that you definitely need help with. You need to kind of, disconnect from reality first and then connect, right? How easy is this kind of transferring from one aspect of who you are, the physical, into the spiritual, okay? The swings provide this ability to just easily, right, sway back and forth and being able to connect to one's fantasy and imagination. There is a tire swing, right? Here you go. I'm showing you a picture of a grown-up girl, right? Who's swinging. She's still connected to her fantasy, to her imagination. Beautiful way. But again, remember, the swings are a temporary way, okay? We cannot live on the swings. So it's a temporary way. It's important to see that this is not how reality is. We do not live on swings. We live in the house, in a structured, stable structure. Swings are just a way. We go, we swing back and forth, and then we get off and we come back to life, okay? Very important to remember that part. And this is the end, I believe, yeah? No more. I hope you enjoyed this amazing session. I personally truly enjoyed it. And again, something's happening with my internet. I'm glad it happened at the end. Yes, it's happening. I hope you enjoyed this amazing session. Those of you on Instagram, if you want to see the presentation, come and watch the YouTube channel. Okay, Lana Shalom on YouTube. Welcome to watch. Thank you for joining me, and I'm wishing you a beautiful day, a beautiful night ahead. Bye.